What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Adobe Live. We have two amazing people, myself, Brandon Gross, your amazing host, and also our amazing guest, Catherine Lowe, aka Kat. How you doing, Kat?
Great, awesome. Thank you for having me back.
Day number 2. I'm super excited, man. Like what we did yesterday, and we have to give a little bit of a recap. Once we get into things, we have a couple of house cleaning items to do before we recap everybody on the amazing VR sort of experientialness that we did in mobile app fashion yesterday. So we're going to recap you guys on what we did yesterday and really what we're going to do today. But before we do that, or rather Kat is going to do that. Before we jump to her, let's get into our schedule for the rest of today. You guys have had an amazing time today on Adobe Live. Right now we are at 12 p.m. PT with Catherine Lowe. At 2 p.m. PT, we are getting back into our XD Creative Challenges. And at 2:30 p.m. PT, we have our Creative Encore. So with that said, Kat, what did we do yesterday for a recap for those who are in the chat who maybe didn't get to catch it? And what are we going to jump into today?
Yeah, so yesterday we worked on an iPad app that basically tried to bring immersive experiences to everybody. So we're talking about virtual events, concerts, classes, or things that you want to attend during the pandemic so we can all be safe and socially distanced, but also share an experience with your friends, family, etc. A lot more on that if you want to rewatch yesterday's replay. Oh, I forgot a little bit about me. I have been a designer for 15 years, and my background is in graphic and web design. And right now, I'm a freelancer for the last 7 years. I primarily focus on iOS apps and iPads and of that sort. So feel free to ask me any questions about that if you want. Yesterday we kind of explored a bunch of different things. We set up our file. There's a lot of foundational workflow process that I went over, mostly on, typography, how to choose color, glyphs, how do I go about making components. So today I want to kind of wrap that up, or the things that we've done yesterday, to quickly put them in prototype. And then we're going to get into the design of, let's say you've booked an experience. So what happens now? So I'm watching a live video, how are you interacting with the video or with the other people attending it? So a little bit about yesterday's tasks. The way that we picked what we were going to do was really in this bucket of like, what's the easy win? So obviously when you're making a project or product, you want to know like what's the killer feature of this product, right? Like basically what's the difference between this versus someone else. So maybe that it comes into the big bets, or maybe a costly big bet, such as high production value, content, or of that sort. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, in a bit.
Yeah, before we get in, because there's about to be a lot, ladies and gentlemen, and Kat has a lot. Now, she's already mentioned it, but I just because we want everybody to be on the same page and be able to ask questions when you have them. We know that you guys love watching on YouTube. Come on over and join me and Kat over on Behance so we can see your questions at any point in time so that we can get every question when it comes through. All right, Kat, let us continue.
Sure. All right, so quickly run down. Yesterday, we kind of explored the logo. I've talked about, how I arrived at this, which I literally just picked this font and typed it in and put a gradient on it. And I was saying that, maybe the O is interesting, kind of looks like an alligator eye. Maybe that could be an app icon of some sort. We're using Nuhas Unica as our font. And this is kind of our titles and text. We went over a little bit about the use of SF symbols for our glyphs and how do we manage primary, secondary, tertiary text colors. Talked a little bit about the color choices that I tried to go with and how did I apply those into kind of using components. And then here I have some items in the playground area that I've copied over from the XD kit so that it would be a lot easier for me to place in at the right time. So yesterday we kind of had one screen that was just had the logo on it for the launch. And then we had a sidebar design for iPad where sidebar here is your navigation. And then as you minimize the sidebar, we have sort of like the full screen view here. And then when you tap on one of these events, Rainforest Amazons, we've got to the product page. The product page, we had a big header shot. We have a couple images here and the description, how to join, a little bit about the host and reviews and activities that you are interested in. And then we try to do one for David Blaine with the alligator scarf.
Yes.
That Brandon said. And then we worked on a modal for purchasing this event. So it's going to launch from here, schedule your experience, how many people, is it a private group, what date and time. And then we took a shortcut by saying, hey, we're just going to offer Apple Pay for now. So it's going to show this kind of Apple Pay overlay. And then as you pay, you get to a success screen. And then you can share this information at any time with this kind of pop-up. Any questions about this?
Guys, if there's any questions about anything that we just went over, put any of those questions, comments, etc. in the chat. Also, to say hi, some of you guys, we have Henry, Sydney, Corey, Umacorn, Bobby. Really, the whole family's here. We're glad to have you.
Yeah. Hi, Corey. SF symbols for the win. He's my coworker.
I'm telling you, that was a really good thing that we went over. I didn't know that yesterday. I was Googling and, doing my thing yesterday.
Cool. So I think, to just kind of looking at what we finished or up to what we did yesterday was really, we ended it with a David Blaine screen. What is the difference between the kind of the Forest one and David Blaine is that this is actually like a host. I was thinking it would be a host page. So what's missing here is, the date and the event that this person's having. So I want to add that in. So down here, I just kind of copied the same content, but really it should be a calendar of some sort. So I was thinking maybe we do something that mimics this and we'll do a row design. So for now, I'll just erase the host. Obviously the host is this person. Maybe we don't really need the reviews for now. I'll just delete this for now and then make some space. So for this, I know that I'm going to be duplicating it a lot. So instead of making it here, I typically like to make it in here so that it would keep everything really clean. So with this, I want to say, okay, it's going to be a row. So maybe I'll do 44 points. That's the height. There's no background. The border should be divider lines. So I'll do, just draw 2 divider lines for now.
So skillfully done. 2 straight lines, ladies and gentlemen, in under 2 seconds.
And then I don't want to redo this, right? I can copy the text from here and then paste it in here, but
boom.
There's multiple ways to do kind of calendar events. You could do today, you can do Tuesday, you can do side by side. It doesn't have to be this large. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping the same styling. So I go over here and pick one that I've done. So maybe it's 16 at the least. It's the 16. Okay, so it doesn't need to be centered now because it's not centered. Maybe I'll put, the year, since most concerts have the full date, right? So maybe it's
Gotta be
not
super.
Tuesday. Maybe it's I should say January. Like, what month is this? All
That's
right.
like,
So
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was about to say, I was like, we need that specificity.
All right, and then it's virtual, right? So we don't need to say like where it's going to be. So maybe a call to action would be nice, to repeat the information to say, okay, I'm going to book this. So the call to action we had was actually this from X per person. So what I want to do is like I want to duplicate that and put a new text in here and say book or confirm or book the session for this date. Since I made it smaller, I want to make sure that it's the right size, and maybe it should be all caps.
One of the big takeaways that someone had yesterday from Bobby McGill, fantastic tip yesterday about creating elements outside of the design in order to keep uniformity across design. I think that was really smart, like the way that this is set up, where you're keeping all the things that you know you're going to be using in your design separate, so you can just keep the components there.
Yeah, it's quite important to make sure that, you know, the things that are going to stand out will stand out, and things that are not going to stand out won't. So you don't want to compete with other stuff. Okay, so for example, let's say I'm done with this and I just want to make a component. So first I will group it and Command K to make it a component, so it automatically inserts it for me. So this is kind of like currently the default state. Now maybe maybe that's enough. If it was web, I would probably put a hover state, but because this is an iPad app, I wouldn't. There is no hover state. So I'll come back here and then I'll drag this in. And for the sizing, I want to make sure that it is right. So of course, when I just stretched it out, as you can tell, Tuesday is messed up. So what I like to do is go back to edit main component, make sure these things are locked and pinned. So up and left, top and left, I mean, top and left, here's top and left too. And this one should be left and top, right and top.
Now, there are some questions in the chat. However, I think, well, one of the questions, we don't have to dive into this right yet, but wanted to mention it. Someone's asking, how did you create a border with a gradient in it? I think it's this
so
simple answer.
I actually wish that we could do it easily on XD, but you can't do a gradient with a border. What I've done is I just have two rectangles. It's just two rectangles, one on top of the other. I hacked it. Sorry.
Sorcery.
And then I just changed the background to gray. I mean, maybe that's something people want. You want to have a border with a gradient on it. That would be kind of interesting for a future enhancement. Speaking of that, there is a new enhancement in XD today. A new update that says you can now animate with borders and and Pathfinders. So I was like, what is that? What does that do? I did play around with it a little bit. It was kind of interesting.
Are we gonna get to see any? I know we're moving into things today, but is there a possibility, like a 0.001%, that we might see some Cat Low doing some of those animations, or is it like, nah?
Sure. I actually tried to play with it. Seriously, I tried to play with it right before our stream, and I didn't really know what that meant. So we'll do it right now. I was thinking, well, what does that mean when you can animate Pathfinder? I think animating Pathfinder is super interesting. Let's say I want to animate a hamburger menu icon. So I'm going to draw 3 simple lines. So I'll just, for practice, I'll just say 5 so you can see it, or maybe 10. So that's path, let's say path number 1. Duplicate it. Okay, so make sure they're not named the same. 2 and then 3. And let's make it black so you can see that easily. All right, I don't know. I'm in unmarked territory. So let's say I want to make this into an X or something. I was like, oh, maybe that's what this is for. So let me decrease the opacity on this so it looks like it disappeared. And then for these, I was thinking, well, what if it's an X? So that the way I would do that, 45-degree angle, and then this one, negative 45-degree angle, right? And then center them. So moment of truth, prototype from this to this, auto animate, tap, auto animate, and artboard 2. And then this one, I will do the same back. So cross your fingers, it's going to work.
I think this is going to work.
Oh my God, it did it.
I wonder what the whatchamacallit. Yeah, we got to dig more into it, but we don't got to do it right now. It's fresh new. We got to play with it, ladies and gentlemen, but we just thought we would let you guys know that there's an update. Go update your Adobe XD, play with it. All right,
yeah,
back to our regular degular. Thank you for showing that. I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people should check that out.
Yeah, I was like, well, you can also now animate boxes and stuff. I wasn't sure how. I was like,
to
you know what?
Degree?
Howard Pinsky showed me how you're supposed to do this.
Yeah, I'm sure in the next couple of days, people are going to be doing some very interesting things with that, especially like when, yeah. Anyway, all right, so we're back to our calendar.
Yes, so I just did a repeat grid on that. And so doing this, I realized something. Because I drew the border on the top and the bottom, I should have just drawn on one, because as you squeeze them together, you don't need a double border. So go back to this, and we're editing the main component. We'll delete the bottom border, and we should be good. Cool. So we are, well, except for the last one. Cheat and cut it off at a certain height.
That's how we do it.
Okay, so without filling those in, so we have these dates that people can book as well, and so that would be kind of cool. I think what's missing here is probably like more information. What is this for? Is this just for this one event this guy is happening, or is it different? I mean, that could be something that we can explore at a later time. So I'll put this back, and I don't know. Do you think that you would like to have reviews on David Blaine? Because you already kind of know he's the greatest magician that ever lived.
Indeed. Well, some people might only know him as Balloon Man.
That's true. Yesterday I looked up on Wikipedia to see what his description is, and this is the description. He was buried alive for 7 days, frozen in a block of ice for 3, starved in a box, held his breath, and eaten over 30 pounds of glass. I was like, oh, yeah, he does some crazy stuff.
It's quite the bio.
Okay, so you may be interested in, I don't know, maybe if you're interested in that, you should be interested in the host spotlights instead of the nature type things. So I will just cheat and move this over. And okay, cool. So I want to just go quickly through and say, okay, what else are we missing here? Is there anything that we can add? So on these screens, I've done a little bit of this sort of blurry circles. I was thinking, why don't we incorporate some of that to add a little bit more visual interest in these? So I'll put them as a background, see how they look. And obviously this is going to be cut off at this line, so we don't need to put it at the bottom. So the background, bring it to the back. Do that on this one.
Just feeling it out.
Yeah, and then on this, right, the launch screen, it's real boring. So maybe we needed to just do a quick kind of like a background to it. So we'll do a rectangle, we'll do a repeat grid. Just repeat it as much as you want it to be. Oh, and then I was kind of fiddling with this 3D transform function. I thought it was pretty cool. So I was thinking maybe we could do 3D transform on this or something. Let's make it really big. Go to my photos. Maybe we'll pick all the pictures that I've grabbed. Let's see.
I like that you know specifically which ones.
You're like, I'm just randomly clicking here.
Just those two. No,
it's like a variety of things. Load them up. All right, cool. I don't know. I think the pictures are way too big when I'm looking at it right now. Hey, the beauty of it is you can shrink them and do them quickly. Fix that.
Yeah, times have changed. Remember when you would have to sit there, not only grab the photos, but then shift each one of these separately.
In Photoshop, right? I still do that in Photoshop, make them a mask. Oh my God, I deleted it. Okay. All right, so I was thinking, hey, what if we tried this transform tool? I'm not really sure like how we can use this properly. I just thought this is really cool. If you're ever going to animate the background or look at that, you can do all kinds of things with this.
Yeah, the 3D transform. We would love to know, by the way, guys, we'd love to know if you have used the 3D transform in the chat. I'm glad that we're implementing this in this particular project. I didn't think we were going to get to this, but I'm glad.
I'm not sure how would you use it, in a nice way? Because I was thinking, well, 3D transform maybe in prototype mode. You could have. Okay, actually, I shouldn't have done the 3D transform on this one. Should just done it normal, and then duplicate the page, and then do 3D on this one, so you can at least do an auto animate. I don't know. What do you think?
We totally could. We can even do. It doesn't even have to be like a full-on tilt where you see you're the designer here. But when I've used the 3D transform and I'm just trying to get like an interesting tilt on things, like I think that would look really interesting here. And we would love to know in the chat, guys, what do you think? How do you guys think we should use the 3D transform? Put your comments in the chat or your thoughts. Yeah, I think that's the fun thing about 3D transform. You can just play around with, this one we get to be fun. See what looks right. And what doesn't. I think a slight thing would work really well here for us.
Okay, so I've just kind of put that in the background because it's really a lot to put it on top.
And while we are getting that settled, we got some people asking, Henry in particular, asking when is the Artist Spotlight? Artist Spotlight is the last portion of today's live stream. We're going to dedicate a few minutes at the last 30 minutes of today's live stream to check out your work, Henry. So stay tuned for that.
Right. Okay. Just kind of playing around, just randomly playing around with it. It's not really, I don't really have a goal to what it should look like. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like having split screen, so I can always have this prototype mode on, so I can kind of always see. Or maybe you could tether your iPad or the device that you are testing this on, so you can actually see it. You can do that with the XD app. So that's pretty cool. You can test it live. So I'll link that. This auto animate. Whoa, that's pretty cool. Crazy. Just tap it back and forth.
There you go.
What happened to the kind of like the timed? I don't know. Is it this?
I got you. I'm about to.
What happened to that?
You can only do time when you are selecting the artboard. So like if you just click that artboard rather than what's it called? So you take that first explore, then you prototype it over to the second artboard, there'll be a time toggle.
Okay, cool. So delay 0, auto animate, and back. So we don't want it back. We want it to go to the bottom, right? So here we go. Well, that was so fast that you didn't even see it. It's
the quickest.
We need a delay on it, like a second or something.
We need to feast our beautiful eyes on
that. Is some ridiculously fast, like M5 iPad or something.
It's like we're done loading.
It loaded and then you didn't even know it did. Maybe the duration needs to be way longer. Like maybe, I don't know, 1 second is pretty long. Delay 4. Interesting.
There you go.
And then when it kind of goes from this to the final screen, I think, yeah, we need to do something so it's not a tap. So maybe this is this is also a time, and there's no delay. Duration is 3. Okay. Let's see.
Sydney Newberry says, "Wow."
Oh, cool. Wow to you.
Right back at you, Sydney.
All right, so what we did in the prototype yesterday was like to get rid of the sidebar, right? So since I'm in the prototype mode, let me just save everything before something bad happens. Want to be able to tap on that icon, and then that icon would go to this screen. So I would tap that, auto animate. Maybe it's a transition and it's slide left. Not hope that's good. And then going back words would be the same. Okay, let's see.
Trying to think here. I think the slide left. So what are we thinking about? What are
Yeah, so I think technically what should have been done is this should have been just so typically you would think that this just moves away, but the thing is this stays on the top. So technically only this part is moving in. So it's not actually like it's actually the whole screen should not be moving from side to side. So maybe it's auto animate.
Because what we could do is exactly what you're doing instead of the transition. Like, I think how you have it right now works perfectly, even if we just had it as, because we had it yesterday. It worked perfectly.
I know, I deleted it. Because, like, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to slide right and left.
That's us creatives, guys. We refine, you know,
Yeah.
She left Adobe Live and we're like, listen, day number 2 is going to be it. All right, so let's do this. What if we did
sure. Take a look. I mean, it's kind of there, going here, kind of going away. Okay, let's just ignore that for a second. And let's link the first product. So I'll link that. And that's transition, push left. Okay, that's correct. Do that for this one. Okay, and then for these, well, I want to link that to the modal. So
nice.
Tap that. Okay, so for this, I want an overlay, obviously. And okay, so the overlay, I made the container way too big. I mean, this is a container of the entire height of the cutoff point, so I need to make it a lot smaller. So I can kind of see how it's happening. Okay, well, it's not supposed to be that, but I'll do overlay and then maybe it's dissolve.
There we go.
Okay, and then when we get to this Pay with Apple Pay. So let's link that. This is weird. Okay. I don't think this is supposed to be here. Oops.
We have some questions in the chat. I know it's going to be challenging multitasking because you're doing a lot of connectivity right now, but we got this. All right, Bobby McGill says, I've literally just started a 6-month UX design course online. Would Kat have any advice, tips for a complete beginner into this world of design?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a design mentor at a boot camp. And I have 3 mentees that they also wanted to change careers and get into design. So a UX design course. So good advice and tips is to really keep trying and don't let, show your work and don't let yourself get down about anything, because everybody learns and things are changing a lot these days in terms of, design world. It's not like the old ages where you have to figure out, who's got the information and like message them or call them up. Now there's so many resources. There's unlimited YouTube videos like on Behance. There's content. There's people you can reach out to, and there's a lot to learn.
There really is. I hope that is. Bobby, let us know if that was sufficient for you, if you have anything else specific, or anybody else for that matter. I think those are all good points, Kat.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have any tips for new incoming designers?
The same as what you did. Practice and don't be afraid to fall on your face, which is still, even to this day, like I'm not, you can agree with me, I'm not gonna speak for you. I feel like that's how it still is. You try some new things and you're like, that didn't work how I thought it was gonna work out. We're gonna try it again.
Yeah. I mean, that's, the very important part of design, well, especially product design, that the failure is actually a requirement. I don't know if anyone ever told you that, because if you're doing, let's say you're presenting a product or presenting a presentation of your project, the number one thing that people want to know is, what didn't work and what worked, what's before and after, what problem do you solve? And let's say you tried to solve it and it wasn't exactly the right thing, what you do about it. Like, that's the whole point. Nobody ever gives a presentation to say, I've designed the most perfect thing ever, and then there was no problems. Well, if there's no problems, you probably didn't design it right. Actually, that's really bad if you didn't have anything to say about your project.
Exactly. I think those are some good points. We have a couple other people on that same tangent. Specifically, Carrie is asking, Kat, do you teach any classes? I know you mentioned the specific things that you're teaching, but maybe are you thinking about doing classes of your own, or maybe tell us a little bit more about this boot camp, and then we'll go back into the design.
Yeah, like I actually, to be honest, I took the job of a mentor because I've always wanted one. In my career, I always wished that I had someone to go to ask career questions, design questions of any kind, or anything that's, can you review my portfolio, help me, right? But I didn't. I don't know, maybe it's my fault. I didn't really ask anybody. So most of the time it's probably me. And I guess I was scared and I didn't know that I was supposed to, So anyway, so I felt like, I'm going to give back. Now I kind of know something, I guess, and I can tell junior designer how to navigate or how to design something. But, everybody does. I don't think that people actually think like, they know everything, right? They kind of just think that everybody knows just as much. Like, to me, I feel like everybody just knows just as much, but you'll be surprised that some people, they have strengths and weaknesses in areas that you are not. So it's best to talk to a lot of different kinds of people and get experience.
Well said. All right, let's get back into, so what do we got? I know there was a couple different screens that moved places while we're getting into some of the mentorship stuff, but where are we at right now?
Yeah, so I placed this haphazardly, the share icon, share screen. What I want to do is make sure that it's on a separate screen so I can link it as an overlay. So I can link other screens to it. So it's not really on the screen. It's kind of like you want to put an overlay on top. So I just need to drag it out and make it in a separate, artboard. So I can say, okay, when you tap this icon, then it's going to give me that overlay. So put the overlay on at the right spot. Just want to make sure I can use it elsewhere and it makes sense. So I can also do that at like this point. Oh, actually, I'll do it on this. Oops.
Wow, and that way you can call you can call that element really from anywhere. I think that's really smart because I know sometimes when I'm really just trying to speed through something, not designing for, industry, the way that you're doing this is really smart. And maybe you have a little bit of an explanation that I think because some people might not design stuff like this where you have things separately. So can you explain to those in the chat why you're kind of building it out on separate pages and really what that affords you when things might change in somebody sees it and they're like, let's change this thing. So what does that afford you when you're
that's so funny. So yesterday my mentees asked me the same question. How do you know that? How do you know that's what you're supposed to do? Because in my brain, that's not how it works. And I said, yeah, I know it's totally not, it's not easy to think about things in this way, right? Like, I think when you first start out as a new designer, you just focus on a lot of different things. There's a lot of things to think about, such as these visual effects. So what you're trying to do is figure out what's the best layout. Is it this layout? Is it this layout? Is it this layout? It could be any type of layout. So we're just doing one style, one design. So most of the time when you're working, you need to present multiple styles, multiple designs, right? You need to say, hey, this is one way I could have done this, and here's another way, but you have to be able to articulate why you did it this way. So because when clients ask you, why did you do it like this? Sell me and tell me a story why it came, how it got to this point. So you have to be very sure and stay in kind of a lane to say, okay, I've done this because X. So what makes up of that style guide? What are the components? What exactly is the style I'm going for right now? Obviously, like for this, I just said, hey, Brandon's background is pretty cool. I'm going to do purple, pink, and orange and blue. And that's what I'm going to do for now. This is the lane that I've selected. So I'm going to try to use that. And then throughout in my components, I want to make sure that like, okay, well, what does that mean? How does that translate into this style guide? Well, I've kind of used deduction. Okay, I know there's going to be a button for sure. So I'll start with that. I know there's going to be a picture. I know that, if I ever make a row with a call to action, I need to make sure that these two things look alike. And this is one style. Now, next time I need to make a new style for someone else, I don't have to redo this whole thing. I can just copy this and change it. So for example, right now, like, what if I don't want this gradient situation? I mean, are you going to go and edit every single button? You can. It's just going to take a long time. And that's when you turn off your design software. You're like, I'm not going to do this tonight.
No longer.
You rage quit. You're like, oh man, there's so many elements on the screen. It's going to take me forever. So you got two choices. Either you spend more time on the foundational elements, which means you spend more time doing the style, and it helps you create the design faster at this stage. So you can get right to the prototype, right to telling people like, hey, I know the visual part is still work in progress, but here's how it interacts. Here's how it works. So that's mostly how I work to get client sign off. I need to show a prototype. It doesn't matter if the design's not complete or finished. As long as it gets the idea across first, that's what I'm aiming for. And then I polish it up after the fact. So save yourself some time to kind of do this first. And let's say like a client says, well, I just hate these three colors. I want something else. Well, now you've got to go back and do every single thing. It's just a huge headache.
Yeah.
So like, you know, even with these kind of overlays, you think to yourself like, well, the overlay here for modal booking, I know that's a separate screen because I can have as many product pages as I want. So the modal booking is not going to change too much. What it's going to change a lot is probably my product page and the layout of the discover page. I mean, maybe I don't want to have scrolling like thumbnails left to right. Maybe they're 1, 2, 3 in order. That's not going to affect anything over here.
Yeah.
So, all right. I hope that was good enough
Perfect.
explanation.
Triple A. No,
what do you think,
really
Brent? I mean, what are your thoughts about?
I think it's a great like the way that you're doing this is like Legos. You know that you have a certain amount of Legos that are also going to be incorporated into your larger pieces. So you're making sure that those Legos are at least a-okay before you start building the kingdom or the castle, whatever.
Yes.
And then you also know that probably the portions that are going to change the most are these design pages. So you're really just saying, all right, here are the biggest. Let's separate all the. Here's the, you know, this. It's probably not a good example, but here's this page, this page, this page, and the things that we might need to that are coming in to this page, but might not need to change that much are these overlays. And so that's exactly why we're using the overlay attribute or feature of this. So you said it best yourself. I wouldn't put it any different way.
And you know, it's fun to like tweak these things. You want to make sure that it first works before you try to like tweak anything. Because if it doesn't even work, there's something wrong with your file if it doesn't work. So I usually, you know, go through, just check my work. Okay, I hit back. It should get to the back of the screen. I forgot to do this scroll part of this. So we'll go back to design real quick. Make that. Oops, I have this on still. Okay, so left and right. Scroll and make sure the pictures are longer than the box like yesterday. All right, so yeah, goes up and down. Does that, and then, okay, cool. That works.
Very clean.
All right, cool. And then I guess you get stuck here because you can't go back. Always test your prototypes. All right, so maybe for now, maybe I'll just leave it here. So we'll just stop here. So anyway, we get to a good point to say, okay, this is kind of finished because we've got all of the things wired up, so we can move on to the next part. So the next portion, I was thinking, well, okay, you've already booked this rainforest discovery. So what happens next? I mean, would you land on this page again? I don't think so. Maybe you land on a my booking page. So scrolling down. So I need to copy what I made at the top because obviously we've kind of finished that. We'll take everything here. Put it under. Okay, assuming that you didn't book that many, right? I mean, you didn't book every single one of these, but I was just kind of pasting it in so I know the layout so it would be consistent. But let's say you've only booked an activity. So we should put, you know, upcoming in 2 days. I don't know, something like that. Upcoming 2 days. This is in 5 days and 10 days.
We're gonna get spicy with cooking. Then we're gonna have a magic show, and then actually go back into our shell and read a little bit.
Yeah, into a book club. You know what's funny? Yesterday I was browsing pictures about book clubs, and everyone's so happy. It's just those stock photos are hilarious. They're like just laughing to themselves with books open.
Well, I am glad that they are enjoying those books. I remember we were taking a peek at those. I was like, they are some very seriously happy individuals.
Oh yeah, it's like the health and wellness stock photos that always crack me up. It's like, well, what are they? Okay, I'll just use a picture that we've never used before. And all right, so I'm thinking that this is the current experience, so it's larger than the others. Do a kind of a bolder treatment for it, so you know this is it when you get to the screen. And we also want to make sure that people can join beforehand, so you know they're not like waiting around.
Yeah.
So I'll lock this for now because we put a background. Okay, so what I want to do here is like, okay, let's say that it's happened. You're joining this event, and what exactly do you see here? So I was thinking, well, maybe we should do a chat, or maybe we could kind of describe what happens here. I know it's going to be interactive, and there's going to be a movie or someone is actually showing something. So I was thinking like, okay, well, if this is a Wing Forest discovery, then when I enter, I'm going to have a host. This host is going to have a GoPro or some type of on-the-go video with internet. So they're going to take me through the rainforest discovery whole thing. So beforehand, there's going to be probably like a waiting area, maybe like a thumbnail. So since I use the parrot, I'll just use the parrot here. And I need to add the fade back, which I did on here.
I feel like this is a real thing. Like that's how good this is.
Wanted to make it a real thing.
Guys,
so you can
in the
actually
chat wants to do the rainforest. Yeah, like this is really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my fade needs an extra thing because the top is unreadable. I've faded out too much. So I need to make that dark. Boom. And make sure it's around the title bar. And
Henry says, I love the parrot, and Voodoo Val is confirming that
like
she is one of those individuals who is overjoyed and overly giggly when she opens up a book. So I don't know, maybe she's art directing all those photos.
There was a stock photo of everybody looking at the camera with books. And I was like, wow, that's kind of scary. Like everyone's looking at you. It's like you're late to the party.
Yeah.
All right, so for this one, you know, like when you see something live, it's always kind of red because it kind of like is a recording. So maybe there's kind of like a countdown clock somehow. All right, so I was thinking about this portion, and I was like, you know, it would be really cool if there's a way to embed a video in here so it would actually look like there is a video. But I think that goes beyond what a UI UX program can actually handle. So last night I was shocked because I guess I'm super outdated. I didn't know you can actually export this into After Effects. I'm sorry, Brandon, this is your territory. So I can actually click this artboard and export it out to After Effects and put my video right at that box.
Exactly.
That would be pretty awesome to show to clients and say, hey, this is how it's going to work. So yesterday I went on stock to look at videos, to say.
Wow. One more thing. All right, cool. I can't wait. You are actually.
Don't worry, I have no skills in this department. I'm not a super expert in XD person, but I want to show you some videos that I found that tries to simulate that you're actually watching someone. So I was thinking, all right, this perspective is kind of good. So maybe you start, this video starts, this person starts speaking, and then you're walking through this whole, some sidewalk. And then you are following your guide through, some parts of this Amazon jungle, right?
I feel it.
Then you are, I don't know, maybe you're walking through this bridge and it's kind of an interesting thing for them to show you. And some waterfalls, right? And some parrots and alligators, because I realized I was in the wrong part of the world yesterday. All right, so I was thinking, if I was a host and I want to make this like a special kind of experience, maybe I should make this portion a component, because I'm essentially saying, hey, I want these things to happen, right? Like as it's going. So let me kind of explain what I was thinking. I don't know if this is gonna work out. I was thinking duplicating the screen and then just take out everything that is not the video, so I can get that size. Could have just typed the number 874. $833. Okay.
I am quite impressed with those numbers. I probably would have read them 3 to 4 times and been like, chat, what is it?
I've just made this up, by the way. There was no rhyme or reason to the size. I was just thinking that, in this screen, if I split it to thirds, I'll keep this third 320, so the rest is large. But you want to have the full screen experience, right? Sometimes you don't want the chat right next to it. You want to have it so that it's full. Anyway, so right now I'm just going to focus only on the video part. So if I was someone that was watching this, what do I want to do? So video, I'll name it haven't started, so maybe it's default inactive. So I'll make that a make this a component. Wait, I have 2 fade outs by accident. So I'll group them and make that component, and then how I like it, put it back into my this area.
Yeah. Staying organized.
All right, so this is how I kind of say, okay, let me not look at that, and then I'll design it on here so I can kind of see what happens. So I'll put this here and pretend that that's the video. Actually, you know what? It should be full screen, but I'll just do it half screen for now. So I'm just making the background black so I can see it down here.
Gotcha.
And then just lock the screen for now. Okay, so this is like the default screen, right? So when it's live, I was thinking that maybe there would be some type of agenda. Like when you do XD, right? You would think that there would be some type of agenda. So what would the agenda be? Maybe there's boxes on the screen that says, hey, what do you want to do today? You have 3 choices. You go to the waterfall, feed some alligators, or see a parrot.
I believe that those are proper choices. I definitely would be picking alligators. That's one. I mean, honestly,
that's so funny.
Back in the time of the zoos, like every time I wanted to check out the alligators, they were always sleeping.
The alligators.
Yeah, and I was like, this is no.
Oh, I actually forgot. I was thinking, well, who's gonna be the speaker here? So I picked David Attenborough. He's 94, but you know what? He's coming out of his.
That was him at 94.
Yes.
We
That's
need
him right
his
now.
jeans, like, immediately. Oh, okay.
That is
Yeah, I was
him
gonna
right
update the
now.
photo.
Like he's doing this special on Netflix on the latest animal show, Climate Change. Well, actually, that's so small. David, he's going to be doing a hike with you at 94 years old.
That's what I'm talking about. This is the type of jeans that we need. Hold on. Voodoo Fowl says she would also be interested in the Gator page as well.
I think everybody wants to look at the
And
gators. All right, so we'll do the. So what I did previously was I took some screenshots of these videos because I can't put the video in. So maybe what happens is that is your starting video, like that is how it starts, like it's live and this person is speaking to you. And I will put what are the choices? A bridge walk, pre-grid. So I'm just making the agenda. So what I was hoping is that the person that is hosting would actually be able to see what you selected. So this is like make your own adventure, right? It's not a video, right? So it's like, okay, what do you want to do today? I'm going to hike with you. I pick alligators. So the person should like walk towards that as it's a personal experience, right? You're not trying to show them a video of something that's already pre-recorded.
Can you imagine? And guys, just to entertain, since we're here now, we are here in this experience, in this application. It is real. We have to think about things, and we want to have you guys think about this too. First off, we would love to know which type of journey would you like to embark on. So far, we have a couple people saying the alligator, but we're also curious, bridge or parrot watching. But I'm also very confused who would sign up to be like, crikey, we're about to go, like my everyday thing is to go, show you guys some alligators. I definitely would not pick that job.
Right.
I would be like, like drop my phone in the water for sure.
Yeah. Someone says jeans are not really good for strenuous narration. That is hilarious. Okay. I want to make sure that you can actually see them. So that's why I'm trying to put the fade out on this thing. And I don't know, maybe the host would be right in front of you. Maybe you can do, I don't know, a cutout of David. You have to cut that out in Photoshop first, but let's say he gives you a choice of what you want to do right on the screen. And you pick one. So you get to this, let's say you pick the alligator one. I was kind of testing this out yesterday when let's say you wanted to really showcase this portion of it. Maybe if you did it in XD to After Effects and actually prototype this part out in After Effects, that would make a lot more sense. But for the interaction, you can actually say, okay, I'm at the alligator part. Would I like to go back to another area? Is there a way that I can click the screen? Like to say, okay, let me zoom into this. And then the person uses their GoPro to zoom in. So maybe everybody gets their own cursor.
Oh.
So yeah, because like how let's say you've got a camera, they should be able to see what I want to see, right? Like they're right there with you.
Yeah.
So for this, I want to make a cursor. So maybe the fill, I'll do a linear gradient, or actually radial. Make this white and this 0.
I feel like you're planning to pitch this somewhere because this is very well thought out. Like the cursor, the everything, the color palettes. You say that you were inspired by my amazing office, but I feel like this was definitely planned like way in advance.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, like I've had a experience on Amazon Explorer that does exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, but it was like it's in beta right now. So sometimes, the person you can sometimes there's like internet issues, sometimes there's some type of thing, but I was kind of amazed that you can actually do that. And maybe there's some, I don't know, some way to click on this cursor. Let's say this is and then say, okay, let me get some information about this particular animal, right? Like you can probably provide some aspect of information. So this is where I was like, hey, this glass morphism might work right here because there's now an overlay.
Right.
So you can use that. Maybe we can use something like that here and say, okay, what did I learn about this experience? Can I have some video overlays on this? So maybe I'll do a blur sheet and put facts about alligators, I guess.
This is why it's super smart to have.
Maybe I should steal some from.
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, like, that's why it's super smart to have what your particular hierarchy is, so you don't have to keep. You just dragged in your hierarchy and changed the words of your. I'm not sure if you changed the subhead or the eyebrow text, but you change the title and you just can pull in whatever you need to for the body. You're good to go.
Yeah, because you want to make sure it looks alike, right? So, I kind of play around with the designs somewhere else or all together and then look at them. It's like, okay, do they look like each other? Can they work in this layout? So you just want to make sure, and it makes it easier at the end when you're actually trying to design something. But yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult to start out thinking like, oh, I'm not going to design the screen. I'm going to design the elements of the screen and hope you don't feed yourself to the alligator because it seems pretty up close.
Hope not. I mean, I know I'm tasty. It definitely tastes like coffee and probably some cake, but that's definitely not on the itinerary. Yeah, I mean, like looking at this caption thing, I mean, this thing could also be its own component. If you're going to be using it over and over again, I would make that. Maybe that's the info box. Not sure what they call that. Maybe. Regardless of if it's too much or too little, the chat is just very excited for this alligator journey we're about to embark on.
A lot of close-up pictures of this alligator. All right, so let's move. So let's say like I'm pretty good with these screens. I'm gonna just move on to putting them into the mock-up. So here we'll need a few more things. Just drag this out. So we have the kind of we're getting into it screen, and then this is the duration. So the difference between these two screens that I have is that during the duration, you probably need a few more elements here to like mute, like stop your camera, or typical icons that you have when you're watching a stream, right?
Yeah.
So right before that, maybe it makes sense to have a map of some sort because you have no idea. Like for me, like you had no idea what this is or where you are.
Yeah.
So maybe we could put a map in here. It's just an idea.
I think that's smart. You could be in my backyard and be like, this is the Amazon. I'd be like, wow, I paid really good money. And find like a random toad.
You've seen that
like,
before.
listen.
People look like they're traveling around the world, but they just made their background like hyped up.
That's a smart move.
All right, so the map, I think I just went on maps on my computer and I just took some screenshots. I just went Brazil and then I just took some dark mode images. So maybe we'll simulate that this actually zooms in and then you have your anchor to what is happening. And then for this, I think, to set up the icons, typically you do have an icon for expanding the video, and then you have, mute, turn the video off, make it bigger. So maybe like this is making it larger, which we already have for expand. Maybe there's a way to start and stop the video. Not sure why you would want to stop that, but who knows? Maybe that's important. We'll just take that. The icons for these. So actually I forgot to mention, like the icons, I know you can see them side by side, but typically if you want to do it in prototype mode, what you should really do is create a instance for these. So for example, I want to make sure that I want to mute, right? So this and this are actually related. So I would take the mic, create a new instance. Actually, sorry, you have to detach because I copied it. So ungroup it first, make component, name it correctly. Say new state and say, okay, mic muted. Then go in here, erase. So when you're doing your kind of override or animation, you can actually access them easily. So I would do that for all of these glyphs. We don't have time for that now, but you get the point. So maybe I'll grab that, the play, maybe pause. And I was thinking like, well, what's the cursor? Should there be hands? Should there be reactions? Could there be up and down? Could there be turn the sound off? Maybe it's too loud. We have a good
idea in the chat too about like social share. I thought you had one. I think there is one. Well, we kind of did one, but
yeah. So the share that I have is really basic. It just has like text. So we can do a social share for sure. We would have to add on to this, like you would slide over and say, hey, share this on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. All right. So getting back to this, I'm just gonna paste all the icons that I took. And so right now, I mean, what do you think? You think we should do a mute mic?
Definitely.
Play and stop? Well, pause and play. And sound off.
And what about claps? Kind of like Medium article. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know how on Instagram
where
you give people like hearts? I think that would be really awesome.
Hearts or claps?
Well, claps since the icon is already there.
I have a heart too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
hearts or claps, ladies and gentlemen. We'll let the chat decide. Hearts or
claps.
I
was thinking, which is hilarious. I found these icons of like body parts. I was like, what if you click this and you made David Attenborough do these things?
Maybe those are indicators for like, no, go look back at the crocodile. We're not done yet. Or like, can you
like,
put the phone put the iPad a little bit closer so we can hear the alligator? I don't know.
Or smell this flower.
just smell, All
right, so there's two kind of sets of things. There's sort of the controls for the player, and then there's the kind of like the interaction of what you can do on the screen. So that's kind of, or maybe that is part of the chat. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Like that's part of the keyboard.
The chat is saying, going back to the hearts, it seems like the hearts is the answer, and someone says clarts. That sounds like something that we don't want to do, but that's a combination of claps and hearts. But I think the chat is feeling hearts.
Okay. So I'm just grouping this together real quick and.
Ladies and gentlemen, also do remember to stick around. We have our artist highlight later this afternoon. Well, you guys have the time, and we have about 18-ish minutes before that time. So definitely stick around. We have some amazing work to look at in addition to what we're doing now. So just want to remind you guys that we have that segment after today's amazingness with Kat. I'm going to take a look at a pretty cool artist.
Trying to get these circles to go together with the icon. So, what? No.
The arrows are always the hardest. Like every other like icon, yeah, just happily goes into the center. The arrows just always put up a fight.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I group them together. So name them better. Maybe these are, that's the mic. That's the volume. So at least I have a bottom part of it play. Then I think that, okay, so that's sort of, okay, so that's the video, and then I need to copy this. Well, now I can say this is video player's controls, maybe. Make that into a component and then put that back. General housekeeping, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Here, or maybe just put it in the video section. Now I can delete these.
I think it's really nice to kind of see you not just talk about the organization, but see you literally with each screen as you start organizing each piece or new component that you always go back and do house cleaning. I think there was a couple questions, a couple ways back in the comments in the chat. I think Bobby was asking, how do you continue to get better at that proficiency? And you're basically just displaying it here, where every time you make something new, you stop what you're doing, make sure you go back and you make sure it's in your library.
Yeah, because it takes a second now, and then you won't remember after you do it.
Yeah.
And then you end up having to do a lot afterwards, which, yeah, you would just take a few seconds to just clean it up real quick. So let's pick.
There's like a war in the back of, not in the, I'm saying like in the back of Adobe Live, like we have some seats. In the back row, there is currently a discrepancy. There's still like We have Kate saying claps. We have hearts. Bobby made a really good distinction of claps seem a little bit more fitting for a live performance.
Oh yeah? I would love to hear more about that. I mean, we don't have to do claps in general. I mean, what emotion do you want to show? Like if you're like kind of doing this, you think claps? What else?
I think
booing. I'm sorry. What if it's not good?
I want to know what the booing emoji would look like.
I know exactly what it is. It's the ghost emoji.
It's the ghost emoji. Oh my god. People would get too happy with it. The clap button would be nice and look nice and pretty in the corner, and people will see the ghost button be like, what is this? And just immediately just like hold their finger on it. Just because it's fun. Just that fact.
Right. I mean, I think ghost has this whole meaning to it. And ghost seems like you don't want to participate. You're like gone. That's what it sounds like, right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what do you think of booing? What is it, like a thumbs down? Is that sort of what you think? I mean,
I guess. But I don't know. I feel like that would get really fun. What do you guys think? I feel like the thumbs down would be more fun because you're not there, and you're just like, I don't know. I have that feeling, and I bet that's why that's not in any sort of like live thing. But I think it's really fun to entertain.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't want it to be like, oh, that's so mean. Like you shouldn't put too many angry emojis, because that's like kind of mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, Facebook has it now where you can actually do like the emotion or that emote of the face. We do have a question in the chat. I mean, I think it, for the most of us who have been here. And I think you did a really good explanation about this yesterday, but I think it's really nice to recap. The question is this a mobile or a web application? But yesterday you did like a beautiful explanation of how you thought about this particular application. Could you walk through us?
Yeah, perfect. So this is not mobile. This is an iPad. So I've noticed that there's a lot of similarities, but definitely it is not similar in the way of how you would design it. Because if you're designing for an iPad, as you know, if you own an iPad, there's multiple sizes. So you want to design so you're able to make that larger. At the same time, when you're making something native, like a native app, you want to make sure the screen also works when you squeeze it down. So on an iPhone. And then I can just bring up quickly what I had yesterday, example. One second. So when you are, so in iOS 14, which is different from previous years, is that now Apple has gone for a separate OS just for iPads, so it can bring you a better experience. Previously, what happens is there's one OS that happens on both platforms. You have iPad and iPhone looking the same. But now, with the larger real estate, they want to make sure that things are properly maxed out. So for example, when you're looking at this part of the iPad, that is actually this part of the iPhone. On the sidebar navigation, that is actually the tab bar. I mean, this is a new navigation that they introduced. Doesn't mean that you have to adopt to this navigation. This navigation is also only good for simple apps where there's only a very few levels of depth. Not like, oh, it's going to be nested. It's not going to look really great. So an example of that are all the stock apps. So photos, as you can tell, the left side has nav, and then also this part I didn't kind of explain yesterday, is the ability to drag and drop. I mean, you'll be able to drag and drop different albums to the left. So here, that's why I had saved favorites. Technically what you can do for this is you can drag these events over. Say, okay, I want to save this. I want to save this. I want to save this. So this list just keeps growing, where the top is the navigation, bottom is kind of like your stuff. And I guess here is the ultimate explanation for, why does this matter? So I have a simple animation here to kind of show you. This is what happens when you put two screens side by side on an iPad. I don't know if you know about multitasking, where you can have two browser screens next to each other in a large iPad. So you can like browse and text somebody at the same time. But to understand that the app actually, this is how it looks on an iPhone, this is how it looks like on an iPad. So it does need to shrink down.
Yeah.
And this is actually smaller than this. So that is why it's important to have the right kind of layout. Because let's say you need to shrink it down. What would that look like? Well, on for the video part, it's kind of obvious when you shrink down. You should just watch the video. And then what happens is the chat is below here. And then the description is way below. If not, maybe it's not needed. Or maybe you can do something that's like similar to IG, where when you emote or type, you know, it kind of appears here in transition quickly. I thought that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to focus on the chat. So I kind of broke it down to 3 sections. I have a simple chat, which, yeah, it's just pretty standard. I'll just copy David Attenborough and paste him. Jack Dorsey's quit his job. He's not doing the tour for, for this. Okay, so my favorite plugin, UI Faces. Could be anybody this time.
Our favorite plugin.
Pick a random person. I'll pick this person. Okay, so group them. Just repeat them really quick. Wow.
Well, hi. He said, "Oh." He said, "I see." It was weird. Was his eye was still in that little like socket, so it was like he was peeping through like a keyhole or something. He was very.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I dragged too quickly.
Voodoo in the chat is asking, I think we covered this a little bit yesterday, but there's new people here. Favorite plugins, XD. Just roll them out real quick.
Super boring. I only use the, UI Faces and rename it. I don't use a lot of plugins. I guess I just like using what the program rolls out because I feel like it's more reliable.
Kat was like, "What's your favorite Adobe XD plugin?" You were like, "Natural Talent."
No, I just like whatever you guys roll out. I'll just I'm really like nerdy and I read the release notes. I just see like what you guys roll out, and I'm like, all right, I'll use those as it comes through. So, yeah. Okay, so we don't need that chat. Okay, so the message part, I guess that's the area where you're supposed to put your keyboard. So the funny thing about the keyboard on the iPad, a lot of people complain about them. You know why? It takes up a lot of space. So imagine this keyboard is here. Like, oh boy, right? Even when you look at that, it's like, wow.
It's like, hey.
Hey, it's half a screen. So on 14, what they rolled out is you're able to pinch the keyboard into a compact keyboard, which is the keyboard that you get on the iPhone. Try that next time on your on your. So you're able to type and say, okay, move this up. It's around that area. So this is a more optimal size of what you would expect.
And as we're about to get into that, because I know this is really awesome, Voodoo Val just put a nice reminder, but you guys can see on screen, we're literally minutes away from our artist spotlight. Henry, we're gonna be checking out his amazing Behance work. And then we're gonna, if we have time, we're gonna roll back to what we have here and finish out.
Oh, awesome. Just gonna copy and paste that in here quickly. Racing against the clock.
The stress kicked in. You were like, what do you mean 5 minutes?
Designed harder. Just kidding. Have you ever heard of that before? When people say design harder, you're like, what? Like, click this faster?
I just tend to get a little bit more sweaty. I don't, actually, hey, we won't go into that. We won't segue. I'll segue real hard with the last 5 minutes.
All right, so I moved all our emotes to the other side, and I don't know, maybe we should do it on this one. Say, okay, maybe these are these mouse cursors, and maybe, I don't know, something you can do with these. So I'm gonna steal this. Have you ever seen that like chat when it's full screen? You can actually, you know what? I'm gonna duplicate it instead of overwriting it, so you don't erase what we just did. And okay, so I guess we'll go with the clap.
Claps win, guys.
Maybe there's a ton of claps. I don't know. Claps. Oh, actually, I forgot. I was thinking that, hey, you know, maybe you could take photos and record the stream so you can share with your friends, because well, they can't see anything after the fact.
Exactly.
So maybe that, and also record it. I mean, maybe it's pre-recorded, so maybe you don't need that for now. Forgot to put that in. All right. So this is when I'm like, well, you could have just copied over and over, but now I need to make a change, and that would suck if I had to redo the whole thing. Now I can just paste it quickly and update it for me.
The power of organization.
Right. So you've done it. It was like seamless.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So let's say somebody took a photo, right? How would that look? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's, what happens when the event is over? That's what I want to know. Like, let's say it's over. I should be able to download my pictures, right? Maybe there's some thing that overlays this. So, well, you won't have the controls anymore. It's done. And there's none of this. And the pictures, maybe I can fill in really quick. Some. Oh, I didn't do a P grid. Oops.
It got a lot of good footage
Of the alligator. I didn't think that the alligator would be the popular choice in this. All right, so obviously, you know, you'll be able to replay. So maybe the top is now replay and not a still. Just delete the cursor and Oops.
And also no pressure. We're gonna come right back to it in just a little bit. We have like seconds on the clock, so breathe. This is your time to recompose. We were already composed, but now you get a breather. It's almost been 2 hours. You can let because right now there would have been like a pool by my mouse, everything. So now you get to drink a cup of water, what have you, and we are about to hop into Henry's spotlight.
Cool. All right.
All right, let me see. All right, Henry. Actually, I lost Behance for a quick second. Hold on there. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to look at Sir Henry's amazing Behance portfolio. And he's also in the chat, by the way. So this is really exciting stuff.
Oh, awesome.
Right. So what we have. First off, I know Henry for quite some time. He's been uh, quite a very engaged individual here on Behance, and I love all of his work. I've seen pretty much a lot of this. He does a lot of graphic design, and also dabbles into UI design as well. Honestly, one of my favorite things that he does in particular is he always makes sure to, when he designs something, to mock it up. And that's one thing where I feel like a lot of, new designers, or, they just do the design and they don't dress it up. I mean, do you kind of find the same thing?
Yeah, I think that it's important to have polished images. I think that it's important to see, for people to be drawn in and say, okay, let me look at that in more detail. So having really polished images really help. Sometimes less is more, right? Like in this picture, I love how it's pretty great. You've mocked it up.
You've mocked it up. Step one, Henry. That is beautiful.
No, honestly, you didn't just take a screenshot or something.
Yeah. More than the screenshot, that's what we're looking for. I also was taking a peek at, I thought this was also very interesting. Again, back to the mock-ups. I loved how, he put together this particular piece, what exactly went into his mock-up, his fonts. He very
I laughed at that. Like,
yeah, this brand is fake. Thank you for letting us know. But again, nice mocked up. It's important to showcase not just what you did design-wise, but put it on something.
Yeah, I like that. Did you make it in Dimension? Put the images on superimposed on the bag. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Actually, Henry, since you're here in the chat, I forgot about this. We would love to know how exactly you made this. If you did this in Dimension, if you got particular mock-ups, we would love to know.
That's such a cute little truck.
Delivering super coffee. That's what I need.
Yeah. And hand sanitizer. So is it coffee scented? Oh, okay. It says it right there.
I'm very curious to know
what it smells like.
Smells like. Yeah. I think my mouth would be watering immensely. And then again, one of my other favorite things, again, I think this just is really smart that you mock up your stuff, Henry. So want to claps up for Henry. If you don't follow Henry already, make sure to check out his stuff. He is constantly, and one thing I have to say about Henry, because we are on, we do chat a lot. He's always pushing his boundaries. Every time I see him, he's working on something new, trying to push himself. So Henry, good job on everything that you do, man. I see that, you are continuing to get better. Is there anyone that you would like to pick and kind of jump into here, Kat?
You mean to pick as, in terms of his project? Yeah, I mean, let's just kind of go through, see what he's got. I mean, what's the outline? Okay, well, Christmas 2020.
Outline. Let's look at the outlines. We'll start with the Apple Watch. Man, that's a good outline right there.
That's an awesome outline.
Perfectly traced. Yeah, but I think this is good practice, and I'm sure this was the first. This was an attempt of, outlining
using Illustrator. Yeah, he said AI. He said AI tools, AI, right? So it must be illustration.
Yeah, let me tell you, I probably wouldn't even attempted this. So it's good practice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Henry, again, excellent job. We're going to roll back into Kat's design, but I just wanted to, again, another shout out. If you haven't checked out Henry, he's all over into the side of the Behance chat. So check him out, chat with him. He's pretty much lives here on Adobe Live. So
yeah, good work. Keep it up.
All right, let's see. Can we go back to your screen, Kat?
Okay, so I guess you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. What was I doing? Where am I?
I got you. I got the bookmark.
Just kidding. In this fit photos area. That happens every morning when I roll into work. I'm like, what am I doing? What do I do again? Design? All right, so this portion is when I'm watching a replay. Yes.
Yes.
So maybe for this we'll get rid of the chat because I don't care about the chat after it's done. Just make this full screen. Oops. Okay, and expand that and make it a little smaller. I don't know, maybe this is a photo gallery. When you click a picture, you see that image and you can download it to your computer. So you can save the experience after it's over.
Sounds like a good idea to me. And Kate so wonderfully put this beautiful message in the chat. I haven't physically been in a room with fellow designers since last March, and watching this reminds me how good it is and feels to talk with other creatives. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for hanging out, Kate.
Well, I can't find my pause. Oh, okay. Right here. Oops. This is why I should name your layers nicely so it would not do this. Pause.
Well, you're already very organized, but I think
gotta be vigilant on that organization.
To remember. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, also do remember that with Behance Adobe Live, if you guys love watching Adobe Live, we also have Behance live streamers. This is something that is new, but not super new to the Behance platform. As you guys are enjoying Adobe Live, we also, after Adobe Live, we have many other creatives doing things from graphic design, illustration, you name it, they're probably doing it. So there's live streaming all day, 24/7 for the most part, for you guys to check out and hang on Behance and chat with creatives. That one's for you, Kate.
Okay, so I'm guessing that we're done. Like, here's kind of like what happens when you have already taken as many photos as you like with this button here. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the claps, or maybe we need to do a fade on the claps so it doesn't like ruin everybody else's screen or ability to shut that off.
How do we give the claps?
Oh yeah, you're right. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
How do you give the claps? I think that has to do with how do you make this message area interesting. Maybe what happens is that on top of here, we need to include that stuff. So maybe I'll take all of these emotes and put them over.
Voodoo is saying is, so this is like a function where we can take snapshots of the show for ourselves. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like you're watching, you're like, oh, I want a picture. Boom, it takes a picture. Afterwards, when it's over, you should be able to download your pics here. So I do need a download icon. I don't know if I added one in here. I was kind of looking for it, but I don't see it. Okay, so I'll just go steal one from FS Symbols.
You know, it would be super interesting. I was just thinking about this. Imagine if this same experience, but instead of like real life stuff, you kind of, developers of video games had like a camera attached to different players of whomever is playing a game, like Fortnite. Like if you could follow somebody, Like if you could follow somebody's play style like through the character, that would be really cool.
Yeah, like I was
definitely.
thinking, yeah, like create your own adventure. I mean, it doesn't have to be live, like as in, I'm walking through this thing, like show me what you want to do. But what if it's just like pre-recorded content? You like those books that we used to read when we were little, make your own adventure books. Did you ever read one of those?
It was always like turn to page 3, and because of my illiterateness, I turned to page 4. So I never went on the journey that I was trying to.
How about those old school DOS games? Like yes, no, 1, 2, 3. Like go left, press 1.
Yeah.
People are like, "What's DOS? How old are you guys?"
I mean, I'm not familiar with those games.
Like, there's no graphics on those. It's like turn-based games where there was no graphics back in the day. So sad. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe you could. There's some place where you can say, okay, download all the pictures, so you don't have to hit them one by one. Maybe that would be kind of nice.
Raphael says DOS games are great. There's actually really, again, another sidebar, but if you guys are interested, check out GPT-3, which is an AI that does a sort of like, I'm assuming there's no graphics, but it's an AI that kind of creates, not specifically, but it has a game that's made with it. You can play like a D&D sort of game with it. No graphics whatsoever, but you can kind of progress through this journey that the AI makes for you, just because we're on the topic.
And I was thinking that. I mean, don't people play kind of like D&D on Twitch?
Yeah.
So you could technically, that could be one of these experiences where it's like a game.
Yeah. And Voodoo brought up a really good point again with like the social share stuff. Like in addition to the download the photos, could you maybe share an album with friends? So it's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, maybe we could put that in right here. I was just kind of thinking like, well, what should we have here? Should we just do icons of, okay, so those icons I definitely have to get somewhere. So I'm old school. I go to like Google and I type Twitter logo SVG or PNG, and then I bring them in.
I think that's the new school. I'm still in that school. It's just like, what is the PNG I need?
I just want to make sure it's like the right logo too. I guess I just kind of grab it somewhere. I hope this is okay. Usually Wikipedia SVGs are
pretty spot on.
Pretty legit, I guess. I don't know if you can actually do this. Oh my god, no, you can't. Okay. Oh, actually, let me see if I could just copy and paste it. I'm not sure if we could do that. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Ooh, skills.
But now it has a color over it, and you want it to be not that color. I don't know. Finagle it in. I'm sure there's a plugin for this. Maybe there is. Let's see. Plugins and icons for design. I wonder if they have that.
Oh yeah, they do have Twitter. I didn't even think.
Oh, great! Should have done this.
And you know what the funny thing is? I still would have done it
the old way.
Yeah.
All right.
I still do it.
Terrible, right? We're old
plugins,
school.
Guys. Plugins saved lives.
Wow, that's very useful for social. So.
Indeed.
Wow. Well, they have the old Instagram on here. All right, so change these quickly, and I will size them to 25. Wow, you cannot do that because the Twitter one is the wrong ratio.
We have questions in the chat. Do you always, when available, always use SVG icons?
Yeah, because vector, right? It's a lot sharper and you can resize them so that, you know, they don't lose quality. So I would always like to get the vector first, because you can always export them at a different quality when you're, I mean, do you need to really say share? Probably not. You kind of understand this is what's happening, right? Like with these.
I believe so.
Okay, cool. After, I was also thinking, there's, during the event, or, well, you have the chat, you have the info, and then I have something called the shop. At first I was thinking, well, if this was some type of event where you could buy certain things, like a concert, you can buy like a hoodie, a hat, etc. Maybe, you know, for this scenario, there wouldn't be a shop. Maybe there's like a charity element to it, and say, okay, donate some money so this alligator is not gonna go hungry.
This is
like donate.
Oh my gosh. What if you could feed the alligator through the person watching?
You should be able to with one of these emotes. You should click the mouth icon. Or the lips icon. Smell, hear, see, and clap, right? Maybe what happens is when you click this, there's a predetermined message that says, okay, this person has told you to feed the alligator. Feed yourself to the alligator. Just kidding.
Oh no.
So maybe those things are a little bit different. The treatment for that is a little different. So you can tell what's an action and what's not. I don't know. So maybe it's feed. Or maybe there's a poll or something. Someone creates a poll and say, what do you want to do now? Because you have a group of people on the call, right? So, oh, actually, I didn't think about that. What if you could see each other? And right now, you kind of just look at the, you're kind of watching the host. Well, in this particular event, you're just watching the host. You're not actually, you're not being watched.
And we are rolling down to our last 7-ish, if I can count. It's probably between 7 to 8-ish minutes here. I think so, right? If I do the, I'm like, move to 9. We're short on time. So what I would love to just let everybody know, if you guys have any questions before we leave today, please add them in chat. And if you're over on YouTube, come on over if you have questions to ask Kat about anything in particular, because we're almost towards the end of our show today and I do not want you guys' questions to get left. So with that said, make your way to Typeland and get on any of your questions in the chat.
Buddha says maybe a turkey leg button gets enough individual presses. You can press it once. They feed the alligator. This is gonna be a chunky alligator. Because I'm gonna press that button a million times.
That would be, yes.
That'd be so funny. Wow. That's not what I want. Okay. Actually, this is on the wrong screen. It should be on this one. Okay. Okay, and all right. So the last thing, if we have time, I guess we want to wire it up. So here I should be able to click, I know it's really small. I should be able to click my bookings and have that be attached to this. It's gonna speed through. Hopefully nothing bad's gonna happen.
I think we'll be in good shape.
None. I'll just do none for all of these for now. Let's see.
Yeah, as long as we get to see the full journey, there are some questions popping in. We have a good one from Raphael, but I'm gonna let you finish this prototype really quick because I know I'd be forgetting where I'm pick whipping things. But the question is, any tips on improving our design presentation skills? And I'm assuming both technical and verbal.
Do them a lot. Do them in front of people.
I would
Get
assume that's
really
what that is.
scared and do them again.
The best, and yet practice. Stand up
Yeah.
and yeah,
There's no shortcut to that. It's literally, no shortcut.
no shortcut. You got to stand in a room. And this is something that I did. I would love to know. So we have 5 minutes here. Let's do this. This is more important. So basically, we're gonna end on that note, Raphael. Just practice, room by yourself. Take your presentation, run through it. I think Kat, you might agree there as well. But let's
Yes.
spend this last 5 minutes going through the entirety of what we've done here in the last 2 days, and then we're off into the sunset, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, cool. So the last 2 days, we worked on an app that kind of focuses on different activities you can do when you're socially distanced. So specifically, we were working on an iPad app that showcases a brand new navigation with a sidebar, and going through kind of like the whole process of booking an event and then attending that event as best as possible using your imagination. So yeah, I mean, this that's all we did. And I think that after the stream, I'll put my file on my Behance in case you would love to kind of play with this file, make it your own, or you've got your own ideas, you want change up the design, feel free to do whatever you like with that. Just let me know if you guys have any questions about what we went through. So should I kind of just quickly walk through the whole prototype? I hope nothing's gonna really break. Okay. So this is a page with all of our events. You can scroll up and down, click on the one event, see the product page, book that event, check out. Oh yeah, I didn't wire this. So this probably should just go back to the home page real quick. So let's start here. Book, pay. Oops. And go back, go to bookings, see my booking, start the event. It's counting down of seeing a map, activity started. There's a chat. There's events that I could pick. I guess I didn't wire this up, but you should be able to click the alligator and get to the alligator section. Have a cursor that moves around and see maybe some details about it. And then as you're typing kind of the interaction, it will appear here. You could have it as full screen. You can also emote. I don't know what happened to my emoji versions. This is what happens when you have to check your work. Oh, because I didn't paste it over. Okay, so you would emote here, and then you would be able to see that. And after the event's over, you can download all your photos and share them with your friends.
Beautifully done. And I think that's it, guys. We're 2 minutes towards the end. Kat, or really anybody else, if you have any questions, we're gonna close out here. But Kat, is there anything in particular you would like to close this segment with?
No, thank you so much for joining. And I love being on stream and designing with you guys. I love, your background, Brandon. And thank you guys for joining me. Let me know if you guys have any questions when we're offline. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Always, guys, all of Kat's links are in the description. You can go follow her. You can go ask her any questions. I do see some final questions, and she's mentioned that she does do mentoring as well. So if you have any questions, etc., go follow her. Have a nice, friendly chat with her off screen. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for enjoying our 2-day Adobe Live segment with Kat Lowe. And that's it. Do not forget, as we like to give claps to that crocodile, do not forget to leave claps for both of us. And don't forget to hit the like button, and we will see you on another segment of Adobe Live. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Gross and Kat Lowe.
Bye.
Out. Thank you guys for joining.
Bye.